Picture this, you're Albert Wesker, you've spent years perfecting the ultimate bioweapon, you're practically a god, then some bald guy in a discount superhero costume shows up and... That's it. That's the fight. Today we're exploring the hilariously terrifying implications of dropping Saitama into Resident Evil. And trust me, the scariest thing isn't the monsters, it's realizing how badly our boy would break this entire universe. But there is one thing that might give him trouble. First, we're gonna start off with the Resident Evil 4 intro village. This is everyone's favorite welcome party. You know, the one. Leon shows up, it's really quiet, desolate, and then all of a sudden you alert someone and every villager in a 10-mile radius with a pitchfork comes running at you. But what happens when our favorite superhero who got his costume from the bargain bin shows up instead? Well, first off, Dr. Salvador's chainsaw might as well be a plastic spoon from the dollar store. What's that? You have a chainsaw? Cute. I had to swat a mosquito once. That was way harder. The whole survive until the bell rings scenario, that bell might want to hurry up for the villager's sake. It also would probably get knocked down by the shockwave of him accidentally destroying a building while trying to punch one of the villagers. In those carefully placed barricades that they set up, now they're confetti. The scariest part isn't the violence. It's watching someone completely break a survival horror game just by existing. But if you thought turning an entire village into a punch-based renovation project was impressive, wait till you see when Lady D realizes that her castle is about to have a really open concept. Lady D, popular all over the internet for probably the wrong reasons. The internet's favorite tall vampire lady, 9 feet of aristocrat terror, backed by centuries of supernatural powers. Her very presence turns the castle into a suffocating maze of psychological horror. Unless, of course, you're Saitama. Then she's just another Tuesday. Let's break down why Lady D's entire horror setup will get destroyed. First, there's the intimidation factor. Her whole routine relies on her making you feel small, vulnerable, and hunted. But how do you intimidate someone who responds to world-ending threats with just okay? And it's not even an okay, okay. He doesn't care. Even her daughters, masters of psychological warfare, would find their tactics just hitting a wall. A very bald, unimpressed wall. Their mist form? Meet Saitama's casual air pressure from a mist high five. Their swarms of flies? He once spent an entire episode trying to kill one mosquito. This is basically practice. But here's where it gets really interesting. Lady D's dragon form, her ultimate expression of power, it is genuinely terrifying. Wings spanning the widths of castles, claws that can shred steel, regenerative abilities that make her borderline immortal. It's the kind of transformation that would be the climactic boss fight in any one story. Saitama has literally faced villains that can throw planets and destroy them. His response to Lady D's transformation would probably be something like, oh, you got bigger, that's cool. You're just easier to hit now. And let's really dig into why her regenerative ability that's normally terrifying becomes almost comedically irrelevant to Saitama. When your opponent can punch hard enough to split clouds across the world, regeneration isn't as much healing as it is trying to come back from being turned into abstract art. The real tragedy here isn't even Lady D's inevitable defeat, it's what happens to the castle itself, because Saitama has a really bad habit of forgetting that buildings exist and can be destroyed by him. Every time he doesn't have a key and he's met with a locked door, there goes another load-bearing wall. Every dramatic chase sequence through the game, sorry, but horizontal movement isn't the only way that Saitama can move. He's flying through the roof. A historical preservation society is having a panic attack. But if you thought watching a centuries-old castle get accidentally remodeled into this open concept design was bad, wait until Mr. Bald Guy over here gets to the Raccoon Police Department. This is one of the most claustrophobic places in all the Resident Evil universe, and that word doesn't mean much to Saitama. The Raccoon Police Department, a masterclass in survival horror level design, tight corridors, limited resources, and more zombies than a Black Friday sale. For any normal person, it's a nightmare. For Saitama, it's basically a very poorly organized walking tour. Let's break down why this iconic horror setting becomes accidentally hilarious. First, there's the space management. Those narrow hallways designed to create tension. When you can punch through every wall like it's wet paper, corridors suddenly become a suggestion. In those perfectly choreographed zombie ambushes, the ones where they crowd a hallway quickly and make you make a split-second decision, our boy right here is going to turn them into a bowling session. Even the lickers, they're just spicy parkour obstacles for Saitama. But here's where things get really interesting. The entire survival horror genre is built on resource management. Every bullet counts. Every herb is precious. Saitama's version of resource management is deciding if he should punch you or save his energy and just walk away. However, we found something that might actually give him a run for his money. The puzzles. Turns out being able to punch through reality itself doesn't help when trying to solve puzzles. Or does it? He can honestly probably just punch through that too, but now let's pour one out for Mr. X. Imagine spending all your time as an unstoppable force that's terrified through Raccoon City, only to meet someone whose response to your wall-breaking strength to go, oh yeah, I can do that too, but better. The real horror here isn't the zombies or the monsters. It's watching someone completely break the game's carefully crafted tension by simply existing Once again, you're seeing a bit of a pattern here. Every single mechanic becomes pointless. Every scripted chase sequence ends before it even begins. It's like watching someone bring a nuclear weapon to a knife fight, except the nuclear weapon is bald and perpetually bored all the time. But if you thought watching survival horror mechanics become completely pointless was entertaining, wait until you see what happens when Saitama meets someone who really thinks they can meet his speed. Albert Wesker, you're up, dude. And maybe consider wearing a helmet. Albert Wesker, the man that turned wearing sunglasses indoors into a threat, a superhuman mastermind with a giant god complex. Unfortunately for him, he's about to learn that being a self-proclaimed god hits different when you meet someone that breaks physics for fun. Let's break down why this matchup is particularly hilarious. Wesker's whole thing is being impossibly fast, the type of speed that makes it appear like he's teleporting around. That's cute. Saitama's gone up against many opponents that whole thing is, oh, I'm super fast. Oh, I'm the fastest around. Like Speedo Sonic, or whatever his name is. He's trying to dodge Saitama, catch him while he's not looking, arguably way faster than Wesker, and then Saitama's just raising his hand. And oh boy, that fighting style that Albert Wesker has been perfecting forever, developing a perfect balance of superhuman ability and tactical genius. Meanwhile, Saitama's whole fighting strategy is punch it till it stops moving. Guess who's more successful? But wait, you might say, what about Albert Wesker's mutations, his ability to adapt and overcome? I'm just kidding. You're not saying that. No one's saying that. You know what doesn't care about biological evolution? The guy who ended giant world-destroying monsters with one single punch. We're talking about One Punch Man. He has that name for a reason. Some dude that can move super fast isn't much of a challenge for him. The real tragedy here isn't even the fights, it's the monologues. Imagine spending years crafting the perfect villainy speech or whatever about becoming a god, only for your audience to start picking out gunk in his ear because he's bored. Peak villain moment completely wasted. Saitama's used to these dumb villain, like backstory and exposition dumps. He just sits there, he listens, and then once they're ready to fight, it's done like that. Let's talk about Albert Wesker a little bit more. All those years of manipulation, backup plans for his backup plans, along with his sunglass collection. This guy is just getting destroyed. It's not even close. Wesker's saying he'll only need 7 minutes. Saitama's saying he'll only need 7 seconds. But if watching Wesker's god complex get punched into therapy was bad, let's see what happens when Nemesis meets someone that treats rocket launchers like minor inconveniences. Nemesis, the ultimate bioweapon, a relentless predator that turned the word stars into the scariest words in gaming. Until today, when he meets someone whose response to unstoppable monsters is to tell them to hurry up. It's bargain day at the supermarket. Let's break down this beautiful one-sided matchup. First, there's Nemesis' famous arsenal, the rocket launcher that made players panic. Saitama would probably mistake it for a slightly aggressive party popper. And then those tentacles, no. He would probably think it's just some weird roleplay. The pursuit aspect is where it gets really funny. Nemesis's whole thing is being an unstoppable force that keeps pursuing you and will eventually reach you. But how do you pursue someone that can treat the sound barrier like inconvenience? How are you gonna catch him? It's like trying to watch a Roomba chase a fighter jet. But wait, I hear you crying in the comments. What about his mutations? His ability to get stronger with every defeat? You mean like every other monsters he's fought? Yeah, this isn't helping him. The real comedy here isn't even really the fight, it's the breakdown of Nemesis' AI. Imagine being programmed to pursue targets that run away in fear, and then suddenly you meet someone who's more annoyed than afraid. It's like a heat-tracking missile trying to find the sun. In that signature wall-breaking entrance. Oh, you break walls too? It's the same thing as what happened with Mr. X. Come on. Poor Nemesis doesn't even get to finish saying stop. Okay, yeah, he's gone. Now he's abstract art all over the wall. It looks pretty good. Let's be honest, his one-word vocabulary needed an update anyways. Maybe him getting punched in the next week will give him time to take some language classes. But if watching Umbrella's ultimate bioweapon get treated like a slightly annoying mosquito wasn't enough, let's see what happens when psychological horror meets someone whose brain is as smooth as his head. Maybe try using your mind control on someone who actually uses their mind. Eveline, the bioweapon that proves that sometimes scarier things are in smaller packages. The master of psychological manipulation, who turns your deepest fears and desires into some moldy blah, whatever that is. Unfortunately for her, she's about to learn that trying to psychologically manipulate Saitama is like trying to play chess with a wall. Let's really dig deep into why this matchup is particularly really interesting. Eveline's entire horror concept revolves around psychological warfare. She gets inside your head, makes you see things that aren't there, turns your reality inside out until you don't know what's real anymore. But here's the beautiful irony. How do you manipulate someone whose entire character is built on not thinking? Imagine the frustration. She shows him a terrifying vision. Neat. Creates some weird illusion. Okay. Tries to trap him in a nightmare scenario. Is it time for lunch yet? You know, this guy, he's just gonna keep asking dumb questions because he just doesn't care. It's like trying to hack a calculator with interpretive dancing. The tools just don't match the task. And then there's the mold infection aspect of it. Eveline's bread and butter is literally getting underneath your skin, turning you into a member of her twisted family. But Saitama's body has shrugged off cosmic radiation, survived the vacuum of space, and dealt with attacks that could level continents, if not planets. This mold's trying to affect someone whose cells probably fight back. The family dinner scene would just be really awkward now. Eveline's trying to create this terrifying domestic nightmare, and Saitama's main concern is going to be like, where did you guys get this food from? Y'all gotta come to the bargain market with me, you know? Let's break down every psychological weapon in her arsenal. Childhood trauma. He's more traumatized by missing the bargain sale. Fear of death. He's literally too strong to die and too simple to care. Desire for family. His idea of a family is a cyborg who keeps forgetting to pay rent. Existential horror. That's like his average Tuesday for this poor guy. Reality warping. Have you seen what he does? I don't know. I don't think it matters when you can do this. And when all else fails, she does what every other Resident Evil monster does. I'll let you guess. Yeah, she transforms. Yeah, because that's worked out so well for everyone else that's tried that against him. The real horror here isn't for Saitama, it's for Eveline. Imagine being the ultimate psychological manipulator and the person you're trying to manipulate is so simple it wraps back around to being impenetrable. It's like trying to gaslight a goldfish, except the goldfish can accidentally destroy mountains. But if watching psychological horror crash and burn, let's see what happens when the Baker family's most persistent murderer meets someone who treats regeneration like a minor inconvenience. Jack Baker. Maybe reconsider this whole welcome to the family thing. We're on to the home stretch. Jack Baker, the world's most aggressive host on Extreme House Makeovers, Biological Horror Edition. The man who turns family dinner into a contact sport. But he's about to realize that having someone join the family hits different when your guest can level the whole house with one punch. Let's dive into why this match is very fascinating. Jack's whole horror shtick works on multiple different levels. First, there's the physical threat. The man just won't stay dead. Shoot him, he gets up. Burn him, he walks it off. Hit him with a car. That's just his morning stretch routine. Under normal circumstances, this regeneration factor mixed with this enclosed space makes him one of the scariest villains in all of Resident Evil, unless you can just destroy the whole house. Here's the beautiful irony. When you're supposed to be the person that's scared in these hallways of this regenerative monster, it all works out. But when you're just some superhero, basically, that could punch and level mountains, you kinda learn to not care about this guy. Let's talk about the setting, the Baker house. It's designed for claustrophobic horror like I kinda talked about already. Tight corridors, hidden passages, nowhere to run. Except, like I said, Saitama will treat walls like just like they're in the way. Imagine carefully designing a maze for someone to run through and get stuck at the end of, but straight lines just become too much of an effort for this guy, so he just punches through the walls instead. Let's break down Jack a little bit. Shovel attack, meet the guy that headbutted a planet killer. Chainsaw scissors, he clips his nails harder than that. Car throwing, need I say more? But here's what makes Jack tragic. His persistence. Every time he gets knocked down, he gets back up. It's admirable, really. Like watching a Roomba repeatedly bump into a wall. Except the Roomba is trying to kill you. And of course, since this is Resident Evil, Jack does go full monster mode. Because clearly getting bigger has worked out for everyone else trying to fight Saitama. At this point, he probably ranks his punches by how many property damage insurance claims they generate. The real victim in all of this isn't even Jack. It's the poor house's property value. The Baker estate is probably gonna end up qualifying as a modern art exhibit. This poor house is just gonna get torn to shreds with a mix of Jack trying to chase you down and then Saitama being like, okay, bet, let's do it. And then he just throws one punch and levels the whole property. And there you have it. Proof that dropping Saitama into Resident Evil wouldn't just break the game. It would break the whole concept of survival horror. When your protagonist can solve every problem with a single punch and is too simple for psychological manipulation, suddenly survival becomes casual afternoon walk and horror becomes mild inconvenience. The scariest part? This isn't even him trying hard. This is just Saitama looking for the grocery store and accidentally solving every bioweapon crisis on the way just because they were in his way. If you enjoyed watching Resident Evil get destroyed by One Punch Man, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and tell me in the comment section below what you want to see next. And also, while you're here, click this video, because if you like this one, you're gonna like that one too.